Hey everyone, and welcome back to Let's Talk About It, the podcast. I'm your girl, Twana Yvonne, but everybody calls me TJ. But of course, you know that because you've been here, and I'm glad to have you back. So we are here to talk about some workplace challenges. We're going to help you navigate it, and we're going to open that HR playbook for y'all because we're going to have all the HR tips and tricks for you. We also going to talk about a little bit of pop culture for you, just a smidge, but how it's going to impact the workplace. We'll talk about it from that perspective. And last but not least, we're going to highlight a Black-owned business that you should know and you should go to right here in the Valley. So get in here, get in here, get in here as we get this show started. Before we do, you know I've got to introduce my fantabulous co-host.
All right.
Miss Shatema Gresham. How you doing, Miss Shatema, Miss CEO of PTMG?
Thank you, TJ. I'm good. How are you?
I'm pretty good. I'm good.
I'm excited about this show today.
You are good.
Yes.
I can feel that energy. We need it today.
Yes.
We're getting ready for the holidays, falling in, if you will. How you feeling about that? It's time for Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I think this year's a little different. I'm conflicted with, spending and what that really feels like this year.
Yeah.
But I do know that I'm not cooking. So I will be at someone's table for Thanksgiving. No, ma'am. I'm not going to cook.
Well, I'm excited to be hosting Thanksgiving at my house, and we haven't everything. We having everything. Beans, greens, tomatoes, potatoes. You name it. Y'all know the song.
I might be over there then.
Look, I know that's right. So for all my friends and family, you don't need an invite. If you hear this, come on over. Get you some beans, greens, potatoes, tomatoes. We gonna do it all and have just a good time. So thank you for joining us. Now, Shatema, I want to kick off the show with this story that's been trending.
Okay.
I don't know if you've heard about it. There is this lady who has gone viral because she found a transgender woman in the locker room, in the gym locker room. And she was pretty upset. So Tish Hyman's her name, and she ended up confronting a transgender woman in the gym locker room. Now, apparently this is the first time this has happened. They've run into each other before. Walk in, look like a woman, and nobody knows. But if you are undressing and now it's obvious and now there's a level of comfort, I don't think it makes sense to put you in the male's rest or gym either, because now you still got titties on the top. You still present as a woman. Maybe there's a compromise where you get a private space for your sake and everybody else. And I don't think it has to be like, you need to go in the corner, Johnny. But maybe, because now you're going to undress, and that's just my 2 cents.
I don't know if companies, though, should have to go and create separate spaces. I think, there's some ownership in me, right? Like if I know that I'm in the middle of transitioning and I still have, parts on top or maybe different identifying parts below, perhaps I go into the restroom and close the door and get dressed, right?
I agree.
I think there has to be some ownership that, yes, in the spirit of, inclusiveness, there has to be some accountability that, your personal choices could be making others uncomfortable. And so we can't exclude at the provision of trying to include. And I don't know if businesses have to create separate spaces, because then you're kind of creating this corner, for them. But I think, in that situation, it might have been uncomfortable for that person to be in the male locker room. But if you came in the women's locker room, there are still stalls with doors. And
that I agree with. That's why I say I don't want to put them in a corner like a breastfeeding room, right? But if they're in most gyms, they have exclusive spaces, and most of the time it's an upgrade. But maybe that's a healthy compromise to keep the peace, and that's the goal. How do we effectively make everybody comfortable? And that's difficult, and that's the job of a lot of employers. It's not about to make everybody happy. We know everybody won't always be happy, but is there a happy medium? And I like Shatema's approach. Maybe we have to ask this person now because they're not doing it, Tina, right? So to your point, yes, if you know you're transitioning, you may want to feel that way, right? This particular transgender woman said the other people in the gym were consoling her. And so in this situation, Tish lost her gym membership. Is that fair?
Well, I think the way she handled it, coming back in the gym, the yelling, the confrontation,
Okay.
I would have that's probably, if I was the HR person in the gym at that point, there would have been some redirection. There has to be some accountability on her part. Okay, you're upset. You didn't like it. But there was another way. Send that email, have that private conversation, walk out and come back later. But the embarrassment piece is probably the reason for the consoling. And it seemed, at least when I was scrolling through, it seemed very aggressive, at that point. And I don't know if that person deserved that.
Sure.
But I also, if she lost her membership, perhaps it was because of how she responded. Sure. Because at that point, the gym didn't tell this person to go in there and to get undressed. So the gym doesn't have responsibility in that space. And to your point, the compliance piece is maybe there's just a general now, disclosure when you become part of the gym membership that if you're in the middle of whatever, you have the choice to choose which identifying locker room makes you comfortable. But we would ask.
Right.
For the nature of other people.
Right. That's the language, right? It's the language, guys.
Take some, initiative to maybe use the stalls. Sure. I know I go to EOS and they don't, in the locker rooms, it's everywhere. Don't take selfies. Don't take your, it says something on the sign, says something like, you look great. You don't take a picture for the privacy of other people in here. And perhaps maybe that's the disclosures gyms need to consider putting in as part of your membership. And then that way they could have held her accountable that, hey, when you joined, we recognize the world is changing. We want to be inclusive. Sure. But this is the responsibility of that person coming in there. We don't want to get in the business of saying whether you're male or female. Right. But we want to disclose to the other members that we welcome that to our gym. But if you would, could you please use the stalls for the privacy and the comfort of everybody else? And
that's the challenge, right? As the employer, now there's some language, this organization, and we're talking now organization, not particularly HR, but they're dealing with the clients. It's the same difference. You've got to use some language that now speaks and asks them to do that. But I do believe that Tish had made complaints, and for her, nothing was done, which means, what that means when they come to our office, tell them to stop doing that, right? Her expectation was already set on this shouldn't happen anymore after I made the first complaint. And so I felt like that is why it elevated her, which leads me into our HR question of the day, which is, what are some things that HR employees can do when they're navigating workplace issues before they take it to HR? What are some of those steps they should be taking before they say, okay, now I got to go to HR?
Obviously we redirect to your immediate leadership. So whoever that one over, that manager is that you report to, moving up the chain of command in that concern or that complaint, because the hope of HR professionals is that that manager then takes the next steps to escalate if necessary, redirect, coach or whatever is needed to do. So employees don't have to always go directly to HR. So we want you to go to your supervisors, floor managers first. Obviously, if there's some discomfort there, then you go to the one over manager. So whoever that person reports to. And then if you're not getting the response that you're looking for, then that's when you should, maybe navigate to your HR professional.
Yeah, I agree. One of the things I always found is people will have these conversations with their leaders, but they aren't really direct what the issues are. And even if they are, there's still a barrier, because I'm concerned that the person might get upset if I'm bringing this issue, which typically means it's the manager that's the issue, right? If you don't have those conversations, you really shouldn't set an expectation for a change, right? I want to talk about what they shouldn't do. Don't go talk to your co-buddies and be like, you agree they doing this, and create this whole, scenario in the department. That's one of the things you don't want to do. Right. But I would say document, like Tima's saying, we talk about work receipts, right? WRK work receipts. It is an app, and there is a free piece of that really does a lot. And whether you are an HR professional or just an employee, take advantage of it, because everything that happens in your work world, you can add it to work receipts. There's categories for it. It will even tell you if you have a compliance issue, right? If you're saying, oh, I've been going to my boss about being sick and needing time off, and they're not helping me, put that in work receipts. Right. And they will flag some laws and kind of what we want to do, which I'll give y'all some HR tips. You'll have that in the palm of your hands with work receipts.
Yeah, we love that app.
Yeah, it is such a cool app. Yeah. So let's talk about another one. When is it appropriate to negotiate your salary?
Absolutely. I love this question, and we deal with this a lot with Procure at PTMG and building confidence to ask for the money.
I know that's
go for the money, ask for the money. The best time to do that is at the time of the offer.
Okay.
So you've gone through the interview process. They love you. They're offering you the position. That is the time to negotiate. That's when you have to ask for what you believe you deserve. I encourage people to do the market research.
Yep.
Don't ask for $2 million and the position is worth $50,000.
Right.
So do some market research. You can go to salary.com. You can do a quick AI Google, and they will give you some basis for that. You want to consider your experience that's relevant to the role. So your McDonald's job is not relevant unless you were the supervisor or the payroll manager, and now you're, moving into a supervisor payroll role, and that transferable skills connect. But do your market research and ask at the time of the offer. And I always tell people, because then I get asked, well, how do we ask? And I always say, would you consider an amount? Would you consider going up $10,000 on this base salary? Would you consider $25,000, more? Would you consider a hiring bonus in lieu of the salary increase? If you're on target to get a bonus at the end of the year, like right now, it's getting towards the end of the year, but somebody wants to offer you a job to start in December. Well, I'm en route to get my end of the year bonus, which is 10%. I know I'm going to make that 10%. Yeah. Would you consider adding that to this salary because I would lose that, or would you consider? So ask at the time of the offer, use the words, would you consider, because that doesn't take away the opportunity. If you're just, I need $5,000 more, I need $2,000 more, they may go to their second candidate. They may rescind the offer because they don't believe that you'll stay because you're not taking the salary. So I always tell people to start the conversation with, would you consider this amount?
Yeah, I like those points. And to piggyback off, definitely that market research, if this is a position offering $80,000 and let's say you're leaving a role that's 75, you got to think about, is this really worth it for you? As Tima mentioned, what are the skills you're going to bring to the new role that helps to elevate the company, help to elevate the department? And so think about those things as you think about your dollar amount, right? And they're asking for 80, you may be at 75. Think about going 85, 90 over above. And so I would always go on top of what I really want to land at, right? Because to Tima's point, you're gonna pitch this amount, right? Hey, I'm thinking about this and I'm really excited about this $80,000. And looking at the role and my skills, here's some of the things that set me apart, and start to highlight them and say, because of that, I do feel my value sits at about 92,000 for this role. I like those weird odd numbers too, right? You don't have to land at 95 and 93, land at 92, right? Because then they're stumbling to, okay, well, let me think about that and get back to you. If they're me, I'm TJ in HR, I'm going, oh, okay, let me think about that. I've got to talk to the director or the manager of that department and will come back to you, right? But give them your reasons, give them something above where you're comfortable, because if they come down a little bit, which oftentimes we do, you know, you're still happy. You're still feeling good about, I left at 75 and now I'm at 90. And you're moving on. So I like that.
I like the fact of using that odd number too, because I sit in a lot of budget conversations and the salaries are not round numbers. So it does sound better to that executive or that CFO, 92,000 as opposed to 95,000, especially if the equity on that team is between 85 and 96. Now you're asking for 95. It's maybe getting you too high, but that 92 settles better, you know.
It feels good. It feels right. So I thought that was a really good, you know, some good questions of the day for us.
Absolutely.
Last but not least, the new segment, I'm really excited to highlight a Black-owned business that's here in the Valley. It's a business that you should know and you should go. The first business is Grassroots Bookstore and Juice Bar.
Absolutely.
Have you been?
I have been.
Okay.
I have been. I haven't been to the juice bar, but I've been to the bookstore.
It's just in the bookstore now. It's added, so they may have added that since you have been. It's at 1145 East Washington Street in Phoenix, Arizona. It is a cute, quaint bookstore. They have a lot of treasures. I mean, a lot of treasures. They recently brought Sherry Shepherd. So that was pretty cool. She did her book, because she's got a new book out. But check it out. If you've got books sitting on the shelf that you don't use, take them down. They take donations. They have a really cool program where they are feeding the youth. And so I think it's a great gym that you should know and you should go. So when I went, the owner, Ali, insisted I try a bean pie. So we've got to do that. Shatema's got it here. Who's made that?
It's from Wally's Original.
All right, go ahead and crack it open, girl, so we can try it.
It looks really good. I was telling TJ when she brought it to me, it smells good.
Okay.
I'm a smell person first.
Yeah, this is my first bean pie, but Ali said it was sweet. He said it's going to taste like
smells
sweet potato.
Smells like a sweet potato pie.
That's what he said, girl. Okay, so he must be telling the truth.
All right. Well, I'll be excited to taste this. Go ahead and crack
it open, but while we do that, I'll wrap up episode 1 and let you guys know this episode was sponsored by the Black HR Society, who makes a meaningful difference in the careers of Black HR professionals. But we also make sure we support the community. So watch for those events where we can review your resume, give you some career tips, and come back here. Find us on social, every platform, the Black HR Society, except in Instagram. For some reason, we are Black HR Society. But I'm TJ. TJ Speaks on all social. I'm excited to have you here. I'm going to go ahead, Tima, while I get a taste.
I just took a piece of it. Yeah, I didn't want to look all crazy over here eating this bean pie, but it is very good. I'm Shatema Gresham. I am the CEO and founder of Procure Talent Management Group. We just did a rebrand where we're focusing back on talent solutions specific to job seekers and hooking them up with companies that are looking for talent. So check us out. We're on all the socials at Procure Talent Management Group. We are excited about what's coming up next.
All right. Well, I enjoyed this bean pie.
Yeah, it was good.
Ali, thank you. It was very good. It did give a little bit of sweet potato pie.
For sure.
But nonetheless, we excited to have you guys come on back for next episode. But until then, be good and bye-bye.
Bye.